What's up everyone and welcome back to the channel. Let's dive into our first news. Robert Whittaker has opened up about the possibility of facing Alex Pereira in the future. Whittaker admitted that a move to light heavyweight has been on his mind this year, and if he does make that transition, Pereira could very well be standing across from him inside the octagon. Speaking with Submission Radio, Whittaker explained that the matchup isn't out of reach and even described it as something that might be fun. He reminded fans that this was a fight he had considered back when Pereira was still competing at middleweight, so the idea of meeting him at 205 pounds feels natural. Whittaker also shared his thoughts on the challenges of fighting at light heavyweight in general, especially when it comes to facing opponents with a significant size advantage. He pointed out that nearly everyone in the division is tall, long, and rangy, with most fighters standing well over 6 feet and possessing massive reach. This makes the style matchups tricky and requires a different approach compared to what he's used to at middleweight. When asked specifically about a potential clash with Magomed Ankalaev, Whittaker didn't shy away from admitting how difficult that fight would be. He described Ankalaev as a nightmare opponent with his long arms, sharp distance management, and disciplined style. Whittaker explained that a fight against Ankalaev would be like playing chess, with every move carefully calculated and every mistake costly. Still, he kept an open mind and said he wants to wait and see what happens between Ankalaev and Pereira before making any decisions about his own next step. For now, Whittaker remains focused on his career direction, but the possibility of him entering the light heavyweight division and sharing the cage with Pereira is definitely alive. Before moving to the next news, we have one quick request for you. We are constantly working on improving our content to earn your love and support. That is why we truly appreciate it if you could take just a moment to leave a like on this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell icon so you never miss an update here on MMA Pulse News. Moving on to another news, more details have now emerged following Wanderlei Silva's shocking altercation that went viral over the weekend. One of the most talked about moments came when Silva, a true legend of the sport, was viciously knocked out inside the boxing ring. This wasn't during the actual fight, but rather in the chaos that followed. What made the whole situation even more shocking was the way Silva was taken out after the contest had already ended. The incident happened during an exhibition boxing match between Silva and Acelino Freitas. Things went south quickly when Silva was disqualified for committing too many fouls, including 3 headbutts. The referee stepped in and called the fight, handing the win to Freitas. That alone was enough to stir tension, but the real chaos erupted moments later. As soon as the fight was waved off, tempers flared. According to reports from MMA Fighting, Silva was suddenly blindsided during the melee and knocked out. Initially, no one knew who was responsible, but later it was confirmed that the man who delivered the strike was Rafael Freitas, the son of Acelino. The situation spiraled in seconds, leaving fans stunned by what they had witnessed. Acelino later spoke out about the brawl, shedding light on what went down. He explained that when the referee disqualified Silva, things escalated quickly inside the ring. He claimed that Silva's coach attacked him, throwing a punch that actually hurt him badly. Acelino admitted he was caught off guard and felt the attack was cowardly and uncalled for. He then pointed out that Silva should have kept the fight between the two of them, instead of involving his corner and family. Freitas was clear in his statement. Wanderlei, the fight was between you and me, and it had nothing to do with the team. If you headbutted me, fine, I don't care. But unfortunately, Verdum cowardly entered the ring with your son, and things went all over the place, he said. The mix of fighters, coaches, and family members turned the aftermath into absolute chaos. The bizarre and violent post-fight scene left fans in shock. A legendary name like Wanderlei Silva getting knocked out in such a fashion was both disturbing and surreal. The story continues to spark reactions across the fight world, as more footage and accounts from those present at ringside come to light. Moving on to another news, Wanderlei Silva has released a video following the chaotic altercation that shocked the fight world. In the clip, Silva revealed he suffered a broken nose and has been dealing with serious headaches ever since the incident. He appeared visibly shaken but assured fans he is recovering. On the other side, Acelino Freitas, who was Silva's opponent that night, also came out of the fight with major injuries. Freitas broke his hand during the contest and has already undergone surgery earlier this morning. Both men are now focused on their recovery after a brutal weekend. Moving on to another news, Cory Sandhagen is set to challenge Merab for the bantamweight title this weekend at UFC 320, and he's carrying an unshakable confidence into fight week. In his own words, Sandhagen says he feels absolutely unbeatable. For him, this isn't just pre-fight hype. He believes he has tapped into something different during this training camp, something that has elevated his mindset and skills to a level he has never experienced before. Sandhagen explained that he feels more confident and more secure in himself than at any other point in his career. He said his understanding of the game has sharpened, his technical ability has improved, and his overall approach feels like it has been hammered into perfection. The The combination of hard work, self-belief, and the support of his coaches has given him a new edge. As he put it, he has forged himself in this camp and built a version of himself that will be unstoppable come fight night. Looking ahead to Merab, Sandhagen acknowledged what makes his opponent so dangerous. He broke down Merab's strengths clearly: the relentless wrestling, the strong submissions, and the way he uses pressure to tire his opponents out. Those are the tools Merab has used time and again to dominate at bantamweight. But Sandhagen insists he won't allow those same tactics to work against him. He made it clear that he has never once in his career felt the kind of fatigue that breaks other fighters down. He has never been stuck on his back for any significant period of time unless he chose to be there for his own strategy. He believes that by shutting down Merab's two main paths to victory, overwhelming wrestling pressure and grinding submissions, the fight suddenly tilts heavily in his favor. For Sandhagen, it becomes simple. Take away those weapons, and Merab is left with striking, an area where Sandhagen feels vastly superior. Sandhagen was respectful but firm in saying that unless Merab's striking has taken a massive leap, it's going to be a very long night for him. He feels that his reach, timing, and creativity on the feet will expose the gap between them, and once that happens, he predicts the championship belt will be his. He also touched on what this win would mean for his career. Beating someone like Merab, who is already seen as one of the very best in the division, would skyrocket his stock. It would prove to himself and to the world that he belongs at the very top. Sandhagen is already thinking ahead to potential rematches, using this victory as a platform to solidify his legacy and check off unfinished business with former opponents. In his mind, this is the beginning of a new chapter. He's excited for the year ahead, the challenge is still waiting, and the chance to cement himself as champion. Sandhagen closed with the kind of confidence that turns heads, saying that this is his time, this is his night, and once the dust settles at UFC 320, he will be holding the bantamweight title. Moving on to another news, Artem Lobov is still holding on to a heated moment from years ago, and he made sure everyone remembered it in a recent promo. The run-in with Khabib back in 2018 left a mark, not just in clips that circulate online, but in Lobov's head too. The two were filmed in a tense confrontation, trading words in Russian and coming close to blows before cooler heads pulled them apart. Now, 7 years on, Lobov says that memory hasn't faded, and he used it to light a fire ahead of his upcoming fight against Khabib's teammate Zubaira Tukhugov at PFL Dubai. On October 3rd in the promo, Lobov walked viewers through how that old moment shaped his thinking. He reminded people that back then Khabib didn't step up to face him one-on-one. Instead, Khabib walked away and returned with company, a move Lobov clearly hasn't forgiven. That recollection became the emotional backbone of his message. He's not someone who forgets, and he's not someone who backs down when a challenge is laid at his feet. Lobov framed the upcoming bout as another chance to settle unfinished business, not with Khabib directly, but with the team and the aura that surrounds them. Lobov's language was pointed, but focused on the fight itself. He called out Tukhugov by name, saying that this time, there would be no walking away, no backing down, and no distractions. Lobov promised to make it a real, raw contest, and insisted he wants nothing less than to land big shots, to hurt, and to pursue a knockout. His tone was equal parts nostalgia and menace, painting the fight as both payback and professional opportunity. Fans could hear the edge in his voice, the kind of edge built up over years of scrap-filled memories and unresolved rivalries. The promo didn't just replay old clips, it set a scene. Lobov spoke about momentum, about how the past informs the present, and about taking advantage when a window opens. He made it clear he isn't interested in theatrics, only in action. "I'm looking for blows in this fight," he said. "I'm looking to knock him out. I'm looking to hurt him." That directness will play well to purists who want a straightforward, aggressive fight rather than posturing. As the build-up moves forward toward PFL Dubai, Lobov's comments add spice to what already had the makings of a tense matchup. Whether Tukhugov answers in kind or opts for strategy over spectacle, one thing is certain: Lobov has framed this bout as more than a fight. It's a statement, and he's ready to back it up in the cage. Momentum. Man, let's go. Moving on to another news, Henry Cejudo and Kamaru Usman have weighed in on one of the most anticipated upcoming matchups, and both believe that Mateusz Gamrot has what it takes to defeat Charles Oliveira when they meet at UFC Rio. Speaking on their Pound for Pound podcast, the former champions broke down the stylistic clash, pointing out where Gamrot holds the advantage and why his path to victory might not be flashy, but effective. Cejudo was the first to highlight that Gamrot's best chance lies in taking the fight to the ground and keeping it there. He explained that turning the contest into a wrestling-heavy affair might be the smartest approach, even if fans label it boring. He said Gamrot doesn't need to overcomplicate things, because sometimes basic wrestling is enough to get the job done in MMA. However, Cejudo did caution that fighting in a way that lacks excitement can have consequences in the long run, reminding listeners that the UFC has been known to cut fighters who fail to entertain consistently, regardless of their win-loss record. Usman agreed with that assessment, noting that Oliveira is extremely comfortable going to his back, something that has played to his favor against many strikers. Oliveira's dangerous jiu-jitsu has led countless opponents to hesitate on the ground, forcing them to stand and strike where Oliveira's pressure and relentless offense shine. But Gamrot is not one of those fighters who shies away from grappling exchanges. Instead, he thrives in them, which makes this fight different from many of Oliveira's past challenges. Cejudo doubled down on that point, saying that Oliveira's willingness to play guard could work against him this time. Gamrot is not afraid of those positions and has the kind of chain wrestling that can smother opponents round after round. He pointed out that while Gamrot may not be the most spectacular finisher, he has the gas tank, discipline, and fundamentals to grind out victories against even elite competition. For Cejudo, that is exactly why he favors Gamrot in this matchup. At the same time, Cejudo admitted there is a fine line between strategy and spectacle. He warned that fans do not always respond positively to fighters who rely solely on wrestling. He even brought up the example of Gamrot, pointing out how fans can turn quickly when they feel they aren't getting the kind of violent excitement they expect from top contenders. Winning is important, but winning in a way that captures attention is what ultimately secures long-term stardom in the sport. Usman, however, pushed back slightly, suggesting that effectiveness is what truly matters on fight night. He emphasized that Gamrot doesn't need to change his identity or take unnecessary risks. Instead, he has to wrestle, stay disciplined, and control the action. If Gamrot does that, Usman believes he walks away with the win. In the end, both Cejudo and Usman agreed that the matchup heavily favors Gamrot if he leans on his wrestling. While Oliveira remains one of the most dangerous submission artists in MMA, this could be a fight where his strengths are neutralized by a relentless grappler who has no fear of going where others refuse to go. For them, Gamrot's path to victory is clear, and if he sticks to it, he could walk out of UFC Rio with the biggest win of his career. Moving on to another news, Dustin Poirier has weighed in on the state of the lightweight division, and he isn't sold on the idea of seeing Ilia against Paddy Pimblett just yet. Poirier, who recently retired following his loss to Max Holloway at UFC 318, has shifted more into the analyst role. Even in retirement, he remains locked in on the division he once ruled, and like everyone else, he's curious to see who will get the next crack at Ilia's 155-pound title. Unless Ilia is booked for UFC 323 in December, it's likely he won't fight again until 2026, when the UFC officially launches its new broadcast partnership with Paramount. That could set the stage for him to headline the first big-numbered event of the new deal. A grudge match with Paddy is one of the fights being discussed, but so are other huge names like Justin Gaethje and Arman. Gaethje has been vocal about wanting the shot, even saying he'd consider retirement if he doesn't get it. Meanwhile, Arman was originally scheduled to fight Ilia at UFC 311 before being forced out at the last minute on weigh-in day. Poirier understands the appeal of all these options, but says the one that makes the most sense to him is Ilia versus Gaethje. He called Gaethje a precise striker, someone who always brings danger but also takes a lot of risk. Poirier admitted that stylistically, it could be a nightmare matchup for Gaethje. If he lunges in recklessly, Ilia could snipe him with one clean counter and end the night. At the same time, Ilia would be facing one of the most aggressive and violent fighters in the division, which could make things interesting. Poirier doesn't know exactly how that fight would play out, but he sees it as more compelling than throwing Paddy straight into a title shot. When it comes to Paddy, Poirier gave him respect for his rise and for remaining undefeated in the UFC. But he made it clear that the level of competition simply isn't on par with someone like Gaethje. Even if Paddy has momentum and fan intrigue, Poirier doesn't believe that automatically justifies skipping the line. He pointed out that a win over Michael Chandler, given where Chandler's career has been lately, doesn't necessarily warrant an immediate title shot. For Poirier, Paddy still needs that one defining win over a top-5 contender before we can start talking about him challenging for the belt. If Paddy does need that extra step, Poirier already has an idea. He suggested a fight against Max Holloway, who currently holds the BMF title and is without an opponent. That, according to Poirier, would be the perfect matchup to reveal where Paddy truly stands in the division. He also mentioned fun alternatives for Holloway, like a potential fight with Dan Hooker, saying he's a fan of both and knows it would deliver excitement. For now, Poirier is simply watching, analyzing, and giving his perspective, but his words carry weight. With Ilia holding the gold and the division packed with contenders, the UFC has some massive decisions to make for the future. That's it from MMA Pulse News. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe for daily MMA news.